Hey everyone! Welcome back to 321 Docket Dive, where we break down the biggest true crime stories gripping the nation. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial and talked about cases in recent years, the Karen Read murder trial. Specifically, we're focusing on the first trial that captivated Massachusetts and the world in 2024. This story has everything: allegations of police cover-ups, a blizzard, bar-hopping cops, and a woman who says she was framed. If you haven't heard about it, buckle up. We'll cover the origins, key players, the infamous bars and house, what makes this case so unique, the lawyers pulling the strings, the trial itself, and its dramatic end. Hit that like button if you're ready, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Let's start at the beginning. The Karen Read case originated on a freezing night in Canton, Massachusetts, a quiet suburb about 20 miles south of Boston. It was January 28, 2022, and a nor'easter was dumping snow across the region. Karen Read, a 42-year-old financial analyst and adjunct professor at Bentley University, was out drinking with her boyfriend of 2 years, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. John, 46, was a 16-year veteran of the force, known as a dedicated cop who raised his niece and nephew after their parents passed away. The couple had been arguing lately. Texts showed tensions over Read's flirtation with another man, Brian Higgins, an ATF agent. But that night, they seemed to patch things up. Let's start at the beginning. The Karen Read case originated on a freezing night in Canton, Massachusetts, a quiet suburb about 20 miles south of Boston. It was January 28, 2022, and a nor'easter was dumping snow across the region. Karen Read, a 42-year-old financial analyst and adjunct professor at Bentley University, was out drinking with her boyfriend of 2 years, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. John, 46, was a 16-year veteran of the force, known as a dedicated cop who raised his niece and nephew after their parents passed away. The couple had been arguing lately. Texts showed tensions over Read's flirtation with another man, Brian Higgins, an ATF agent. But that night, they seemed to patch things up. They started at C.F. McCarthy's, a local bar in Canton, where they met up with a group including fellow officers and friends. From there, they headed to the Waterfall Bar and Grill in downtown Canton for more drinks. The vibe was lively. It was a Friday night, and the snow was just starting to pick up. Around midnight, the group got an invite to an after-party at 34 Fairview Road, the home of Brian Albert, a retired Boston police sergeant, and his wife, Nicole. Brian and John knew each other through work, but Read and John weren't part of the inner circle. Now those bars, C.F. McCarthy's is your classic Irish pub. Think wings, beers, and a cozy crowd. Waterfall Bar and Grill, more upscale with cocktails and a younger vibe. But the real focal point is that house, 34 Fairview Road. It's a modest colonial-style home in a family neighborhood owned by the Alberts, who come from a long line of law enforcement. Brian's brother Kevin is a Canton police detective, and the family has deep ties to the Boston PD. That night, about a dozen people showed up for the party, including Jennifer McCabe, sister-in-law to Brian, and her husband Matt. Prosecutors say Read dropped John off around 12:30 a.m., then in a drunken rage backed her black Lexus SUV into him, leaving him to die in the snowstorm. His body was found hours later on the lawn, hypothermic and bludgeoned, but Read tells a different story. She says she dropped John off, he went inside, and she drove home alone. When he didn't come back, she and friends searched for him, finding his body around 6 a.m. She claims she said, "Did I hit him?" in panic, not "I hit him," as witnesses later testified. Paramedics and cops arrived, Read's taillight was broken, and tiny plastic pieces were found near John's body. Blood alcohol tests put her over the limit. She was questioned but not arrested that night. 2 weeks later, on February 2nd, she was charged with manslaughter and DUI. By June, a grand jury upgraded it to second-degree murder, alleging she intentionally killed him. Read pleaded not guilty, maintaining from day one that this was a frame job. So who are the key players in this drama? At the center is Karen Read, smart, outspoken, and now a pink-clad symbol for her supporters who believe she's innocent. John O'Keefe, the victim, was the all-American cop, but his death exposed fault lines in law enforcement circles. Then there's the Albert family. Brian and Nicole hosted the party and testified that John never entered their home. Their German shepherd, Chloe, was rehomed months later. Defense says because she attacked John inside. Jennifer McCabe, who was at the bars and party, is a star witness. She says she saw Read's SUV outside but no one came in, and she famously Googled "hose long to die in cold" that morning. Defense claims it was hours earlier, proving a cover-up. Brian Higgins, the ATF agent Reed flirted with via texts, becomes a suspect in the defense's third-party culprit theory. He might have fought John over the jealousy. And don't forget Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead investigator from Massachusetts State Police. His vulgar texts about Reed, like calling her a whack job and worse, came out during trial, showing bias. Proctor had ties to the Alberts. He partied with them and investigated Brian's brother Kevin for a bar fight years earlier, but cleared him. Other players, Yuri Buchanek, Proctor's partner, Canton Lieutenant Paul Gallagher, first on scene, and blogger Aidan Kearney, Turtle Boy, who amplified the cover-up narrative but faced witness intimidation charges. What makes this case so unique? It's not just a murder, it's a web of alleged corruption in a tight-knit police community. The defense argues John was beaten inside the Albert house, maybe in a fight involving Higgins or Colin Albert, Brian's nephew with a history of violence. Bitten by the dog, then dumped outside to blame the outsider girlfriend. Evidence? John's injuries. Skull fractures, arm gashes that look like dog bites, not taillight impacts. No one from the party called 911 about him. Plus, Proctor's fingerprints on evidence bags, inverted videos, and unsearched security footage from a neighbor's camera, owned by a Canton deputy chief. The blizzard buried evidence, but taillight pieces appeared days later. This isn't your typical whodunit. It's a conspiracy theory backed by experts saying the crash data doesn't match. And the public frenzy? Protests, HBO docs, even Elizabeth Banks set to play Reed in a series. It's true crime gold. Now, the lawyers. Prosecution led by Adam Lally, a Norfolk County assistant DA, young, sharp, but criticized for relying on Proctor. He painted Reed as jealous and intoxicated, using voicemails where she rants at John. Defense Dream Team, David Yannetti, a Boston powerhouse who got acquittals in big cases like the Jeffrey Curley murder. He's local, knows the players. Then Alan Jackson, the LA hotshot, former prosecutor who nailed Phil Spector, now using tech like phone data to dismantle the case. Elizabeth Little rounds it out. They turn the trial into a referendum on police misconduct, cross-examining witnesses on ties and planting doubts. Yannetti and Jackson were masterful, turning Proctor's texts into a bombshell. The first trial kicked off April 29, 2024, in Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham, Judge Beverly Canone presiding. It lasted nearly 2 months, 29 days of testimony. Prosecution called 30-plus witnesses, first responders hearing Reed say, "I hit him," experts on taillight fragments and crash reconstruction showing Reed's SUV backed into John at 24 miles per hour. They played bar videos of heavy drinking and Reed's frantic calls. Defense fired back with 20 witnesses, including crash experts from RCCA who said John's injuries weren't from a car, more like a beating and dog mauls. They grilled McCabe on her Google search, exposed Proctor's bias, he admitted hoping Reed kills herself, and highlighted no blood on the SUV bumper. No one tested the house for John's DNA or the dog's bites. Reed didn't testify, but her interviews fueled the narrative. Closing arguments were fireworks. Lally urged conviction on the rage killing. Jackson called it a corrupted frame-up from the start. Jury deliberated 4 days, starkly divided. On July 1, 2024, they reported being hung, unable to agree unanimously. Judge Canone declared a mistrial. Post-trial, 4 jurors revealed they acquitted Red of murder and leaving the scene but deadlocked on manslaughter. Defense appealed for dismissal on double jeopardy, but it went to retrial in 2025. But that's another video. The first trial left more questions than answers, sparking nationwide debate on police accountability. Was it a tragic accident, a jealous hit-and-run, or a massive cover-up? The mistrial kept the saga alive, leading to Proctor's firing and endless headlines. What do you think happened that snowy night? Drop your theories in the comments. Did the defense prove a conspiracy? If you want part 2 on the retrial, smash that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and see you next time.